To figure out a sill for a Brickmold casing or a 908 casing, Western casing, that's what these are referred to as. You go to the outside edge of your sill and you add 2 3/4 to the total width, both sides. One side, the 2 3/4 takes care of the total measurement. This casing here is 2 1/16 wide, actual. Some Western or Brickmold casings are a little bit wider, some are a little bit narrower. So you have to use that in your judgment of how to figure your cutbacks for your end caps. So we're adding 2 3/4 to the overall dimension, and that'll give us plenty of room for our end caps and our overlaps. Now the sill doesn't, this window is not a replacement window, this is a regular sash. So the sill doesn't reach all the way to the backstop. So what I did is I made a little receiver, and all I did was double hem it. And when I hemmed it the first time, I stuck a piece of sill in there and brought my brake up and hemmed it with the sill in there. That created enough of a space so that it would actually accept the sill. I installed it in on the inside, and then I brought my sill in and shoved it into that little receiver. Okay, now we're going to install a Brickmold casing on this. First thing you do is you take a measurement from the sill to your top and cut that piece. That's your length. So what I did is I cut my piece, and again I used my speed technique, cutting a 9-degree angle in the bottom of it so that I don't have to scribe it in. Put it in there, get it on the bottom where it's supposed to be, and then you'll take a mark here, which you can see I've already cut this out. Now you have to take about 1/8 of an inch off the inside of the lock. That'll allow the top lock to come over and the piece to be folded over. So I've already done that. This piece is ready to install. Now you can install 2 different ways. One, you could put an adhesive, a silicone caulking on this back inside edge, or you can put it on here and use finish nails to attach it. If you use a caulking, you're going to have to wait for it to set up and dry. I don't have that kind of time, so I'm just going to nail it. So now you put it in position, and I'm going to finish nail it off. And then I'll use my nail set to set them properly. You don't want to hit this lock area with your hammer in case you break it. Then you got to start all over again. And then we set the other side same way. All right, now we got to put the top receiver in. And again, this is, in case I didn't state it earlier, this is called a Brickmold casing receiver. So we take our length across, cut it to size. Now we're going to mark for our notch backs on each side. Mark it and cut it. Now we also have to do like roughly a 1/4 inch notch out for this lock area on each side. And I'm going to do that with a razor knife. So I use my razor knife, again rocking it back and forth will help you work down through the lock. You do that on both sides. So now we got those notched out. I'm going to just angle cut this from the top all the way down to that notch. Same thing on the other side. Now it should pop right in there. And there she is, perfect. Nail it off. All right, now we're ready for the brick mold sides. Again, I speed cut them, 9-degree angle. What you want to do is a little bit of an angle cut on this back flange so it doesn't make contact with your sill before the front. I've already cut this to length. All right, so I'm going to take my J channel, snap it in. All right, I got my side holder position. I've got it nice and flush against the bottom. Now I got to make a notch in the top or a fold. So I mark the opening of the casing. Take it down, put my square on it. Draw my line. I'm going to cut about 1 inch above the line because I want to fold that back. I'm going to do a pie cutout right in this area here so that I can fold this over. So the first thing I have to do is cut this off here.
Okay.
All right, now I'm ready to cut my pie for my fold out tab. I cut back to my line, give it a little pie cut. I cut my lock out. Now I'm ready to fold it. So once you get a good crease in there, then you take your fingers and fold it real strong, bring it back to level. Now we're all cut and ready to install. Line up our bottom, get it so she's right where she's got to be, give it a whack. Now she's all locked in. Do the same thing to the other side. As you can see, we got a little space here, about 1/16 of an inch. That's what happens if you don't cut this back side. Take my snippers, and all it is just doing an angle cut. Right in there like that. Okay, we got these all set up and I'm just going to nail them in to get them all set. Grab a small piece of the brick mold casing and a small piece of J channel, attach them. Slide them over to one side or the other. Doesn't matter which side you do first. I hold it in position, mark. I'll slide this back a little bit so you can see the bottom of the J. We're going to carry the bottom of the J over to there. And then we mark the very top of the molding right there across the top face. So now that I got my marks on there, I'm going to cut this excess out so I can make clearance for my J-channel to slide through. You cut that across, then you cut straight down. Now again, the only part that's important is this outside edge. That you want to start at the very top and angle down. Just a very mild angle. Do the same thing to the other side. Now we prep our J the same way as we prep our J for the colonial casing. We put it in position, drop it down, mark the inside of our pocket, both sides. Now, as you can see all by the lines here, I'm going to cut down to that plane where the line is, cutting the front face out. Cut the back side, slightly pie it. Same thing to the other side. I take, bend my flap down. Same thing on the other side. Then I flatten them back out. They'll be bent down once I install it. Now for our top. Take your top and center it so you got a little bit of overhang on each side. Mark the inside on both sides. Draw your line. Cut them out. You're going to have to make your own template for cutting the miter. It's very easy to make. This template is a lot less severe than the one on our colonial molding. And use the same methods that I showed you in a previous video on making your template. You use a small piece, slide it over till you get the desired coverage you want. Cut the bottom out and the top, and you have your template. So now I take my template, slide that over to where my notch is, and trace it. Then you just cut right along that line. Now for this one here, it's a little hard to jump right over that hump. So you cut up to the hump, and come across this way and get that out of your way. Then you can use your other snippers to finish the cut. Well, top is done. Take and lock my J-channel in. Then I line up my notch for my flap on my J-channel, about 1/8 of an inch away from the cut on both sides. Roughly about 1/8 of an inch away from your top cut on both sides. And it'll move back and forth once you get it in final position. But you just want to position it there before you lock it in. Get your casing down in position. Voila. Slide your J, fold your flap down, and you're good to nail it off. Last thing we gotta do, put your blade on the edge, snip it up, cut it in, and angle it back. Voila! Brickmold casing completed.